Dr. Fraser. How you feeling today, Doc?
I am doing wonderful. I love that background. One of my favorite cities on the planet. It's where our power networking experience and conference will be November the 5th through the 8th. So we're going to slam it there and everybody's going to be in the mix. I'm excited about it. This is this is the second time coming to Atlanta. We were in Atlanta 15 years ago,
Yeah,
3
yeah,
years, and it was awesome. So
great, man.
looking forward to seeing you there.
We're
But
definitely looking forward to having you. I mean, this is going to be, an amazing conference. And, leading up to the conference, you always give people jewels, give people sound bites, things that they can chew on,
right.
as a snack before the conference.
That's right.
So tell the people a little bit about, who Dr. George Fraser is and some of the amazing things that you have coming up, like the Power Networking Conference, which I'll put in the chat the website so that people can go there and, gain more information. But introduce yourself, for those who may not know, may have been on
Yeah.
the rock and may not be familiar with Dr. George Fraser.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to take a couple of minutes to give you my origin story. My father's from Guyana, came to America in the early 1900s, married a beautiful fair-skinned sister from Lumpkin, Georgia, Ida Mae Baldwin. There were 11 of us, 8 boys and 3 girls. And my mom became mentally ill when I was 2. I was next to the youngest. And my father, who was a New York City cab driver and a jazz musician, um, couldn't take care of 11 children, so we were orphaned. So I spent 3 years in an orphanage from 2 to 5. And then we went into foster care, sort of toxic foster care. And no one thought I was college material. So I went to a vocational high school and got a diploma in carpentry. And I wasn't mad because there was another really famous human being who was also a carpenter. So I couldn't get a job in carpentry in New York City because the Italians controlled the carpenters union. And so my first real job was mopping floors on the midnight shift, cleaning toilets and urinals at LaGuardia Airport. In fact, if you go to LaGuardia Airport today and you go down into the maintenance department, there's a picture on the wall, and it's a picture of me. I was the best floor mopper in the history of LaGuardia Airport. What's the point? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. We aged out of foster care and, of course, went back to my father's brownstone that he had purchased in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York. So they say if you're from Bed-Stuy, Rick, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster, and our audience is going to find out today how to be a gangster. Okay, and and I mean a good gangster, and I mean Gangsta, gangsta. So we went back when I aged out. My sister and I, my younger brother Joseph, and my older brothers who had gotten back home before we did, had were heroin addicts and heroin dealers, and I wasn't feeling that. And so I hung out for a couple of years in mopping floors on the midnight shift at LaGuardia Airport. And then I said, I got to leave. I don't want to be in this environment. I don't want to end up like my brothers. So I tried to convince my younger brother, Joseph, to come with me to Cleveland because we had an older sister who's still living, by the way. She's 96 years old, lives
Wow.
here in Cleveland. She lived in Cleveland and she took me in. Joseph didn't want to go. He wanted to stay with my brothers. And so that's where I went. And about 3 years later, I got a phone call from my older sister. Joseph was killed in a drug deal that went bad. Right.
Mm.
So God was good. He gave me the courage to pack up what little I have and get the hell out of there and sort of start a new life. And the first job I got in Cleveland was again in the maintenance department in a small building on Euclid Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio, called Cleveland Clinic.
Mm.
Little, all right? So this was 55, 56 years ago. It's a small building, just it's not just getting started, but it was growing. Today, if you come to Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland Clinic occupies a about half a mile square city blocks in the hood in Cleveland, Ohio. And so, my life, that was the story. That was the struggle. I mean, basically, it's not any different than any brother or sister out here. We all come from modest beginnings, humble beginnings. And again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, it's who you're hanging out with, it's how you spend your time. It's all of those things. And so you have to have the right people in your life. You have to have the right models in your life. You have to be in an environment that will, of course, help you to connect, grow, and prosper, which is really what our conference is all about, helping our brothers and sisters to connect with the right people, and with the right people, they can grow. And as they grow, of course, they are going to prosper. But that is the first three goals of your ultimate goal as a Black person living in this country. Your ultimate goal, of course, is to learn, to earn, and return. That we have a lot of us learning and a lot of us earning, but not enough of us returning. And therein lies our challenge, right? As I say all the time, ain't nobody fixing Black people but Black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Right? They ain't saving us. We have to save us. Who in the hell are we waiting for, Rick? We're waiting for us. That's what we're waiting for. And thank God for brothers like you, and there are many more, and sisters who are righteous and are what we call race people. I'm a race man. Now, I know I look different, right? I don't have to explain. My mother's from Lumpkin, Georgia. Her grandmother was enslaved, and you know what happened to the slaves. So my father was your color, and my mother was a shade or two darker than me, but I got the
Wow.
DNA. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. And God has been good to me, and my commitment is to come back and to be good to our people and to do everything I can. I've committed my life to the service of our culture and our people, and that way, when I die, I will die empty, having served, having loved, having given, having served the culture, and to try my best to make things just a little bit better for succeeding generations.
Yeah, because Lord knows we need a little bit of love in this world right now.
Oh yeah. Oh
I had
yeah.
no idea your roots go back to Lumpkin, Georgia. I was born in Valdosta, Georgia.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
We might be cousins, man.
Hey, we might be, man.
We might be cousins. All right. In fact, and when I tell the story,
Uh-huh.
I have met, by virtue of social media, a lot of people from Lumpkin, Georgia. My mother was Ida Mae Baldwin. I met a lot of Baldwins from Lumpkin, Georgia. In fact, my mother had six brothers, and I was named after one of her brothers, whose name was George. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. So, man, so let's get into this, man. You've lived 80 very long and productive and successful years. Been married for 52 years to the same sister, you
That's
might
right.
say. And you set early priorities up in your life, So what's the secret? Can you tell them like the currencies?
Yeah, there's seven currencies that, when I think about it, and I've been asked this question many times, did I create this formula? No, I can't say that I created the formula. My seven secret currencies of life uh, are the evolved priorities of my life that I focused on over the last 65-year period to get me from orphanages, from foster care, from abuse and cleaning toilets and being inducted ultimately into the Minority Business Hall of Fame, a museum, two presidential lifetime achievement awards. I'm saying that with pride, not bragging. Um, Over 350 awards and citations, and writing 6 best-selling books. The classic being "Success Runs in Our Race: The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community," that I wrote 35 years ago, that you can still purchase on Amazon now. Other than the Bible and some classics, Rick, there are very few books that were written 35 years ago that you can still purchase on Amazon. It still sells 10,000 copies a year. It's required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. So I've been blessed with that. Um, uh, I started a business, a groundbreaking business, about 40 years ago. And as you mentioned, and I'm very proud of, that I've stayed married to the same sister, and I emphasize sister, for 52 years, raising 2 handsome and productive sons. And I'm now a grandfather of
Oh,
3 daughters. Now, they did the right thing. They followed their mother and father. They found their partner. They got married, and then they had children. So I'm
mm,
proud.
awesome.
That's my story. I'm sticking to it.
I love it. So let's get into the first currency. So the first currency is time. Dr. Fraser, you are well read. You've said to me, when the Buddha was asked, what's the biggest mistake humans make? What did he say?
That's a deep philosophical question, and I love that you asked me that first. When the Buddha was asked, "What is the biggest mistake that humans make?" the Buddha replied, "The biggest mistake that humans make is to think they have time. Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can spend it. And once you've lost time, you can never get it back." So let me say that a different way. It's like I blink my eyes, Rick, and 80 years of my life is gone, right?
Hmm.
Yes, time is a currency, my brothers and sisters. Spend it wisely. Spend it wisely. In fact, if you think about it deeply, philosophically, we're actually fortunate to be able to die. Think about that now.
Hmm.
Let's do this backwards. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? Because it means that Rick Mathis and George Fraser overcame millions to one odds. Millions of sperm cell went up that fallopian tube, and one came out, fertilized an egg, and Rick Mathis was born. Millions to one odds. And when you are born, you are given time. Now, we don't know how much time we have, but I will tell anybody in a New York minute, do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time. And I don't know how much time I have, but I'm not going to allow you to waste it. Time is critically important. Now, in whatever time that you get, understand that there are no exceptions to this particular rule. There will be obstacles. My favorite quote outside of the Bible is a quote by Marcus Aurelius, one of the 5 great Caesars. And Marcus Aurelius said in 600 BC that the impediment to action advances the action. What stands in your way becomes the way. In other
Hmm.
words, the obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing God does when he gives you an assignment he feels that you're prepared for? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, and under that obstacle so that you can trip, fall, make mistakes, and learn the lessons. I have failed my way to success. And then you take those lessons and you apply those lessons to your next assignment. Unfortunately, you will get a next assignment if you're still living, and then you apply those lessons to the next assignment. So obstacles do not block the path, my brothers and sisters. Obstacles are the path. And again, where there is no obstacle, there is no way. So no one is an exception to that rule. When we look back over our lives at each assignment that we have been given, it required overcoming obstacles. Why is an obstacle put there? Because there's something you need to learn, right? Sometimes we have to go through a storm to get to clear weather. So this is the story of life, and this is okay. I eat obstacles for breakfast. I love obstacles. In fact, I think you do too, Rick. All you
Oh
have
yeah.
to do is tell me you can't do it, or no, that's not possible. And then I say to them, I don't really complain. I say, okay, watch this. And then I overcome the obstacles that are put in my way, and there will be, I can count on them, right? And I do what the Creator has assigned me to do. Let me say that a different way, that each of us have been put here with a unique purpose in life, right? And the purpose of life is very simple. Why? Because God doesn't make anything complicated. We make things complicated, right? And so let me uncomplicate for our audience today. What is the purpose of life? The purpose of life is to love, to give, to serve, and to add the highest value to somebody or something every minute of every day. That is why we are here. Now, that's the meta purpose. What is your unique purpose? Well, God has given each of us a unique purpose. There's a job that he's assigned only you, Rick Mathis and Dr. Fraser, to do. And if we do not do it, it will not get done in the universe.
Mm.
So our travels in life, for whatever time we are given, is in search of our purpose, which means that we got to try a lot of things, right? And some of the things we will get really good at, some of the things that we will have to learn how to do. And ultimately, through this circuitous route, going down this path, we find out what our purpose is. Our purpose is really what? Here's a clue. What gives you the greatest fulfillment, joy, and satisfaction? What would you do if you wasn't even paid for it? Right? That's your purpose. Then once you figure that out, and that takes a little time, then you figure out how to monetize it, get good at it. We all watch Beyonce. Remember Beyonce, a little kid? They had pictures of her practicing singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff, right? And she would do it for free. Well, now if you want to see Beyonce, you have to sit in a stadium seat and pay $250. So the more
More than that, Doc.
right, the more skills you have, the more people you serve with the time that you have, the more money you earn.
Mm-hmm.
So, time. Don't waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell anybody in a New York minute, let me repeat it, do anything, but don't waste my time. I will get more money, but I will not get any more time.
Mm-hmm.
The objective of life is to matter, right? In fact, if I could tell a quick story, I was being interviewed by ABC TV. A sister asked me a question I had never been asked. It's about 10 years ago. She said, Dr. Fraser, what would you like on your tombstone? I said, wow, no one's ever asked me that question. I said, well, on your tombstone, at the top of the tombstone is the year you were born, and then there's a hyphen, and that's the year you died. The hyphen represents your entire body of work. Okay. So under that year born, year died, of course, my name. And then under my name, only two words. He mattered. And that's the ultimate question.
Mm.
Do you matter? To whom and for what? When you matter, you have lived a life worth living. Manage your time. It's critically important. And the better you manage it, the more productive you will be, the more value you will add, the more people you will serve.
Hmm. Yeah, we have
That's my
some.
story. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, definitely. We have somebody
Mhm.
in the comments say, Lex Kelly just said, and what's up, Lex? How you feeling? I just, I was just triggered because I felt like my time was wasted.
Yeah. That's exactly right. We all we all say that to ourselves. We will go through something or entertain something, or get invested or involved in something, and then in hindsight, as you evaluate it, and you are evaluating it, every talk that I give, I evaluate it, right? Um, but and you'll make a decision. Was that a good use of time, or was that a waste of time? Or how could I have done it better? Right?
Mhm.
Hopefully, you are asking those three questions. Let me just make one final point
Sure.
because it's so critical. I guess that's why it's the number one currency. It's my number one currency. Um, there was a longitudinal study, a national study done by the New England Journal of Medicine about 6 years ago. You can Google this, brothers and sisters, on the three most productive periods of your life. Number three is between the ages of 50 and 60. Number two, between the ages of 70 and 80.
Mm.
And number one, the most productive period of your life is between 60 and 70. So, what does that mean, Dr. Fraser? That means that from 0 to 49, you ain't done a damn thing yet. God is preparing you to do your best work the final 30 years of your life. Now you know something. Now you have some wisdom. Now you have some experience. Now you have some skills. And so the final 30 years of your life, that's when you're going to do your best stuff. Rick, how old are you now?
48.
48. So you
Yeah.
still got one more year learning, right?
Yeah.
You've already done some incredible things. So I can't even imagine, with the lessons you've learned
Mhm.
and the people you have added value to and served, what is that going to look like when you get 50 and go from 50 to 80?
Mm. Wow.
So
Wow. I'm
that's a
excited.
that's a mic drop on productivity, right?
Ding.
Right. So I'm 80, right? I'm 80, man.
Yeah, you
And
look like you're
I'm
about
doing some
60 though, Doc.
I know,
That's the
but I'm
secret.
doing some of my best work. Now we'll cover how I got to look this way and feel this way and be inspired by brothers like you, another complete another generation, another generation. How did that happen? We'll talk about that in one of the seven currencies.
Mhm. Sure. So the next one, and this is a very one that you really excel at, relationship, relationship building. You know, I remember when I first interviewed you and you had that diagram with all of the dots on there, and you
Oh,
talked about this is your network and you have to connect. And I was like, wow, it just kind of, blew my mind. You know, you've written two bestsellers on building relationship
that's right.
and effective networking because right now networking is very key. Your network is your net worth is the sum total of your network. You know
That's
what I
right.
mean?
That's
So,
right.
so number two currency is relationship. Please expound on that.
It's my favorite subject.
Mhm.
And I think God, it's one of the purposes that God has put me here for, is to first study it, become an expert in it by practicing it, and then write books on it to sort of download what I learned. So 35 years ago, I showed this book already, but I wrote this 35 years ago. It's a modern day classic. It's called Success Runs in Our Race, Brothers and Sisters, a complete guide to effective networking in the Black community. All right.
Mhm.
So it is required reading in 57 historically Black colleges. It's the book that started the networking conversation in Black America and ultimately started the networking movement. And in that book, it's almost 400 pages. I'll just give you sort of a 60,000-foot view of some of the critical content and sayings that people are saying now that I actually created 35 years ago. What did I say 35 years ago? That you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Introduce me to your 5 closest friends, and that will tell me who you are. As they know and as they go, so go you. Right? The most powerful asset that you will have in the 21st century will not be AI or your computer. It will be your relationships. And the
Mhm.
fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already where you want to be, brothers and sisters, kings and queens. What am I saying to you? Don't spend major time with minor people. People going nowhere want you to go nowhere with them. People doing nothing want you to do nothing with them. If you want to change your life, change your relationships. If you are not where you want to be in life, it's because you don't have the right people in your life.
Mhm.
Business is about relationships. Without relationships, you have no business. Without relationships, you have no business being in business. In fact, the business you're really in case no one has ever told you, you are in the business of building relationships. You don't build a business, you build your people, and your people build your business. You cannot do it alone and by yourself. So, what is the bottom line on here? 2 things. Friends are critically important because it's God's way of apologizing for your relatives. You see, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your relatives.
Mhm.
And we all have some knucklehead relatives. Hopefully, you don't have any knucklehead friends. Okay. And the final message here is stay away from still people, still complaining, still broke, still hating, and still nowhere. Stay away from those people. They are toxic. Relationships, relationships, relationships. In fact, there is a biblical declaration on the power of relationships. It's actually a direct quote from Jesus Christ. John 5:30. There are 800,000 words in the Bible. Only 1,200 words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now, this was Jesus, the Son of God, and he couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So, what's up with you?
Mhm.
Relationships are critically important. There's another biblical declaration on the power and the importance of the human connection because God's love of the human connection, because we are communal people, is very clear. And he gave us 2 ways to ensure, Rick, that we connected. He gave us sex and money. Now, let me unpack that.
Mhm.
The motivation for sex is ecstasy. There's no feeling in the world like it. But that is not the purpose of sex. The purpose of sex is procreation, to create more of God's children to serve you and for you to serve. This is critically important. Now, that's sex. Now, money. How do you earn money? You earn it through service. I said this earlier. The more people you serve with the developed skills that you have acquired over time, the more money you make.
Mm-hmm.
And our
Got it.
sister, who we have to spend $250 to sit in a seat to see Beyonce, is a perfect example of that. There are endless examples of that.
Mm-hmm.
You serve an enormous number of people with the incredible audio visuals and movies and things that you do, and you serve multiple people and you earn because of that. So each person listening, how are you adding value? Who are you serving? Right? And that is going to determine how much wealth ultimately you will acquire. Let me say that a different way. One of my favorite authors is Malcolm Gladwell. And Malcolm Gladwell said that the most common attribute of the rich are friends, contacts, and connections. That rich people have lots of friends. Without other people to serve you and for you to serve them, you have nothing.
Mm.
I consider the human connection customer service. And for me, customer service is close to a worship service.
Mm.
Remember, and I'll close with this, that many are always smarter than one. This is
Mm.
what God wants. We are designed to be communal. We're designed to work with, through, and to love each other. And this is the path that we must go down with and through other people. Here's a metaphor. If you are going down a road that's beautifully striped, beautifully paved, but there are no twists and turns, there are no hills and valleys, that road will probably lead you nowhere. Welcome to life.
Mm. Wow, you're listening to Dr. George C. Fraser. I am your host, Dr. Rick Mathis, and we're live on Rolling Out right now and talking about the seven currencies. So we've gone through the first two. And the third one, you read a lot, which is why I think you uh, selected this one as the third one,
That's
knowledge.
right. That's right.
Is that
That's
the
right.
reason why knowledge is number three?
That's exactly right. Now, there's a trope, it's a negative trope in our culture that if you want to hide something from a black man, put it in a book. My recommendation is that every brother and sister should take time out of their lives to read at least one book a month. Pick anything that you want, read, because it's also exercise for the brain. You got to exercise the physical body, but you also have to exercise the brain. Reading is a way to exercise the brain
Mhm.
because when you read, you're more prepared with the knowledge of facts. Facts.
Mhm.
We want to move from what is called cognitive bias to critical thinking. And the reason facts don't change most people's opinions is because most people use facts to don't use facts to form their opinion, and they use their opinion to form facts. Right? I was reading a book about Michelangelo, and Michelangelo. This is a quote from Michelangelo. He was 87 years old, and he said this. At 87, he said, "I'm still learning." Now remember, he carved, sculpted the statue of David in Florence, Italy, which is magnificent, and painted the Sistine Chapel. And at 87 years old, he was still learning. People don't decide their futures; they decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. Reading must become a habit. And there's so many options out here. And now you don't even have to go to a bookstore. You can go to Amazon. You can get Audible.com. book.com, and it'll read the book to you, or you can pull it up on your laptop and you can read it from your laptop. There is
Mhm.
no trip that I take, and I travel a lot. I have 10.5 million frequent flyer miles, traveled all over the world for the past 50 years. There's no trip that I take that I'm not carrying at least two books with me in my suitcase to read while I'm sitting around in a damn airport and while I'm flying from point A to point B. Hours of time. What am I doing with that time? Twiddling my fingers? No. I am fertilizing my brain so that I could be a better critical thinker, right? This is called intellectual curiosity, brothers and sisters. I said that you want to be a critical thinker rather than using cognitive bias. So let me define for you, according to the dictionary, what cognitive bias is. Cognitive bias is a systemic thought process or systematic thought process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing. I'm sorry, let me start again. Is a systematic thought process caused by the tendency of the human brain to simplify information processing through a filter of personal experiences and preferences. That's what cognitive bias is versus critical thinking. And this is where we want our brothers and sisters to get. Critical thinking is the intellectually disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, applying, analyzing, synthesizing, and or evaluating information gathered from or generated by reading, observation, experience, reflection, reasoning, and effective communications as a guide to whatever your belief and actions are.
Mhm.
That's what critical thinking is. And the quicker we move towards critical thinking versus cognitive bias, the more successful you will be in life. So this is hugely important. Knowledge, I mean, how are you going to do anything? I mean, I can't even imagine the amount of time and what you have had to read and practice to perform the skills that you so easily perform. It's easy because you've learned it and you've made the habit of, you know, inspecting what you expect, reading, and making sure that you are up on the state of the art of your science or your skill or your craft. This is what you have to be, and this is how you are going to get from point A to point B. So what's my plea to brothers and sisters watching today? Read. Negroes. Now let me spell Negroes for you. Capital N-E, capital G-R-O-W-S. Negro, please. At least one book a month. Okay? This is this is very important. You got to have facts over feelings. Don't let your emotions play with your intelligence because intelligence is where you do your work, not your emotions, your intelligence. So this is very, very critical. Knowledge. And that's why it is in the top three of what I believe are the seven, I call them my secret currencies, but it's no secret. It's just how I organized them and the point in which I discovered how critical they were and began writing down a list of the seven things that I've got to focus on for my life. And knowledge never stops, never ends. And it same thing for anybody listening, watching.
Mhm. Wow. Dr. Fraser is dropping jewels, man. So today you're sharing the blueprint to how you've had so much success.
Hmm.
past 80 years of your life, man. And I really appreciate that because, we want to document these things so these things could be passed down. And we also want to, celebrate you now while you're here. I know you recently, the book Success Runs in Our Race was
Hmm.
selected by OpenAI as a book to, what do they say? Aggregate. We got to talk about that. Share that
Yeah,
win
yeah,
because we have
yeah.
to celebrate each other's
That,
wins and be excited for
that
each
is the
other's
ultimate
accomplishments.
honor. I totally forgot about that. I know I mentioned it to you. My publisher, HarperCollins, who published Success Runs in Our Race 35 years ago, got a call from OpenAI announcing that they had selected Success Runs in Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community, as a book to be used to help train AI, but they needed permission from the author and from the publisher. I'm the author. Uh, to get the book digitized so that they can insert it into artificial intelligence. So my publisher called me and asked if that would be okay, that OpenAI would be paying you $5,000 for the right to use your information to train AI. And I said, oh yeah, that's a very, very high honor. They don't select every book. So that's a kudo. I typically don't talk about it very much, but I'm glad you mentioned it. That's the ultimate um, compliment that you can get for anything that one writes. And so it'll be around forever. And of course, we know that there are some issues with OpenAI in terms of biases, in terms of the information that they spit out is typically from a Eurocentric perspective instead of an African-centered perspective. So Success Runs in Our Race is written from an African-centered perspective. It even describes in the book the difference between Eurocentric thinking and African-centered thinking. And it's very important that we understand the difference between those two things. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, man, that's great. And for you, those who don't know, OpenAI is the parent company of ChatGPT. So this information will be digitized and
Mhm.
ChatGPT will be trained
That's right.
information from the book
Yeah,
Success Means It Our
that's
Way.
it's a
Yeah,
powerful thing. It's
yeah,
a
that's
compliment. And considering that the book is 35 years old,
yes. So you can do something, or you did something 35 years ago that you're still making money off
money old.
of today. That's amazing.
That's right.
That is amazing. So,
Residual income.
yeah, yeah, that's what you want, making money while you sleep.
That's right.
So that brings me to something. Let me ask you this. Do you feel that, you really know what your purpose is? Because each time I kind of feel like I know what my purpose is, then I discover, well, wait, I'm in the neighborhood, if you will, the community of what my purpose is, and that's producing films, content, and things of that nature through digital mediums and through video. But do you feel like you really have discovered what your purpose is?
Yeah, great question. Yes, I have. My purpose
Hmm.
is to read, interpret what I read, simplify it, and then speak on it. For all those who don't read, I'll read it. I'll analyze it. I'll extract the facts that I think that are relevant, and then I speak on it in workshops, seminars, speaking engagements, and obviously my own conference, which is now in its 24th year, the Power Networking Experience and Expo, 24 years. But in order to do that effectively, I had to prepare myself from 0 to 49. And then now on in my final, most productive 30 years of my life was to give all of that back in ways that our brothers and sisters who choose not to take the time to read, to give it back to them. so that it's so in a useful way, in a way that strikes a chord, in a way that maybe even insults them, right? Uh, but or makes them think, or as the old saying, use things that make you go, I
Mhm.
didn't think about it that way. So that is what we have to, and that is what I think my gift is, and is part of my reputation. Not which is the fourth currency,
Mhm.
your reputation.
Mhm.
Your reputation. What is your reputation? It's your character and your integrity. That's what it is. And people ask me, and I say all the time, where's the safest place to store your wealth? And the answer is not in money, because money can deflate, it can be stolen. There are all sorts of ways that you can lose money. The safest place to store your wealth is in your reputation. It is the most effective way of building and developing your reputation, because it is a way for you to be of most service to others as you possibly can be as a person. And what did I say earlier? The more value that you can bring others, right? People invest in that, right? Success Runs in Our Race sold 1 million books, and it's still available for sale. And again, I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. So I invested my time, talent, and treasure to learn the knowledge, to write the book, to
Mhm.
give it to our people in ways that they would understand. They obviously loved it. They invested in the book. In other words, they bought one, and I was paid. And as I said, I'm still being paid on that. I didn't do it specifically for that, but certainly I wanted to write something, as you want to produce something of value that people will want to see and enjoy and make an investment in their ability to see it. So that is extremely important. It is the fourth, I think, most important currency that we have, because so much of who we are depends on our reputation. No question about that. Let me say that a different way. The magic, my brothers and sisters, that you're looking for is in the work that you are avoiding. Let me say that
Amen.
again. The magic that you're looking for is in the work that you are avoiding. Do the work. It
Mhm.
will pay off. It's the best investment that you will make. Getting knowledge and building your reputation, which is attached to your character and integrity. So I'll close with this single point. No matter how educated, talented, rich, or cool that you believe you are, how you treat other people ultimately represents your integrity. And your integrity and your reputation and your character is everything. And there are endless examples that we see on social media of people who had a massive, wonderful reputations, and in a day or two, they destroyed their reputation. Diddy is the classic example that's up right now, right? He was all of that in a bag of chips for years. But what one does in the dark will ultimately come to light. And that, when it comes to light, it will destroy your reputation.
Wow, powerful. Well, very well stated. Man, I'm telling you, really giving the blueprint here, man. We're here with Dr. George C. Fraser. I'm your host, Dr. Rick Mathis, and we're really just sharing the 7 currencies of life. This man has been very successful and being a public speaker and being a motivator and being, you know, a change agent for our community. And speaking of change, we're going to move to number 5. This is currency number 5. And I would like to share a quote directly from Dr. Fraser. He says that the line is longer for those who want change than those who want to change. So, can you unpack that? What do you mean by
Yeah, yeah. Everybody, some way, somehow, wants something to change.
Mhm.
The question then becomes whatever it is that you pine to get changed, will you personally do the work to change as opposed to just wanting it? Will you invest your time, talent, and treasure in fact, making the change that you want? All right. Let me say it a different way. You will never change that which you tolerate. You will only change when you get angry. People will not change when they see the light. People will change when they feel the heat.
Mhm.
Okay. What you're not changing is
Mhm.
what you're choosing. Let me say that again. If you want change, but you don't do the work to change, you've actually chosen what you don't want.
Mhm.
Very important.
Mhm.
Frederick Douglass said many, many years ago about Black people in their fight for freedom. He had a beautiful, beautiful quote in his life story. He said, "It is not the light that we need, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake." In other words, you got to shake someone up sometimes. Morally, spiritually, something bad happens. You got to be shaken up, generally speaking, to make that change that you are required to make to
Mhm.
put your life on a different path. James Baldwin said it beautifully. James Baldwin said, "We are born, we suffer, and then we die."
Mm.
Wow. Okay. What does that mean? The key word here is suffering. We will
Mhm.
all suffer,
Mhm.
no exceptions.
Mhm.
It's how you manage your suffering, what you do about your suffering. Are you getting care? Are you doing the right things? If something is bothering you on the inside of you, are you going regularly to have your health checked? Are you getting properly examined? Yes, we will all suffer. But the question is, what are you doing about that suffering? And to the degree in which you do something about your personal suffering will determine your life. In fact, that word suffering is the hyphen between the year you were born and the year you died on your tombstone. In that hyphen, there will be obstacles, as I said earlier, and there will be suffering. How do you manage that? What do you do about that? This is critically important because life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. That's the bottom line. So we have to work on that. And you are going to suffer. There are no exceptions to that rule. That's how you manage that suffering.
Mm.
It's
Wow.
extremely important. And one way, here's an odd way to manage your suffering.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not odd. But when I talked about relationships, I failed to mention, because I really wanted to keep it for change,
Mhm.
the most important relationship decision you will make in your life partner.
Mm.
Mess that up 2 or 3 times and see what your life looks like.
Mm.
I made the right decision for the woman I wanted to be my wife. I made that decision at 27 years old. And we're still together
Mm.
52 years later, and I would not be the man that you're listening to without her advice and counsel. And by the way, the reverse is true,
Mm.
right? It was 1 plus 1 making 11 and not two. You're not looking for a relationship with 1 plus 1 making two. You can do that with any damn body. You're looking for geometric growth. So this is huge if you want to help manage the changes and the obstacles that we will all go through, because good things never come from comfort zones. They don't. If we want success, we must get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Were there uncomfortable signs and times with my wife, Nora Jean? Yes, there were.
Mm.
No question about it. Welcome to life. So, yes, change is uncomfortable. The selections you make with the people that are around you, you discover that not this is not the right person,
Mm.
and then you have to change it.
Mm.
Don't tolerate it. Change it. There are gentle ways to do that,
Mm.
right? And you don't say to them, "Negro, please get out of my face." No, what you do, or what I do, is slowly but surely over time, I get further and further away, and
Mm.
there's less contact. What am I doing? I'm changing something that is not productive in my life. Now, I determined that. That person didn't determine that. Hell, they may be trying to do the same thing with me. Maybe what I'm saying is painful, or they don't want to hear it, or they got their own habits and their own life, and they don't believe in any of this stuff.
Mm.
So, this is critically important. Change, and it's forever, and it never stops. Embrace it, love on it, do it.
Wow. So if y'all are enjoying this information from Dr. George C. Fraser, please do visit the Power Networking Conference, the website. Give us that website again, Doc, for the
Power
conference that's going to be
Networking,
here.
Power Networking EX.com. Power Networking EX.com.
Yeah, and it will be right here in the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. And that's taking place when, Dr. Fraser?
November the 5th through the 8th in Hotlanta.
Yeah, and guess what, Doc? My birthday is on the 7th.
Well,
So I
shoot, we would
definitely will be
celebrate your
there.
birthday then.
Oh yeah,
I knew
definitely
there
be
was a
there
reason we
celebrating.
picked that date.
I love it. I love it, man. So definitely looking forward to that, man, here in the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. So that brings us to number six. This is currency number six is mental and physical health. Health is very important. As some of you may very well know, I recently experienced a health scare right around the holidays, around Thanksgiving last year, where, thought I wasn't going to make it. I experienced
Yeah.
the Widowmaker. And as you and I know, only about 12% of people that experience the Widowmaker survive it. And one thing too, I was speaking to Dr. Tate in the docu-series that we're producing called Heartbeat docu-series, and you can go to heartbeatdocuseries.com to view the trailer. But Dr. Tate said, the way you eat and the way you exercise save your life. Not only did I experience the Widowmaker, but I didn't go to the hospital until 5 days later because I thought it was simply food poisoning. I thought it was food poisoning, Dr. Frazier. I had no idea that it was a heart attack. and one as severe as the Widowmaker. But the thing he says, Dr. Tate, says that allowed me to have that gap, that 5 day gap where I didn't seek medical attention, was the fact that I run 5 miles 3 to 4 times a week. And I've been a vegetarian for about 25 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, so when he said that, I was like, wow, he said, you're really a walking miracle. And oftentimes, we're going after success and we, want to be successful. I got to get this done, I got to get this done. But how many of you are really practicing self-care? And one of the things that you say is it's better to eat the right foods and supplements now than to eat supplements and medicine as your food when you get old. Unpack that for us, Dr. Fraser.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I was very fortunate because getting old ain't for sissies. Make no
That's a book title, Doc.
Ain't nobody
Getting
told you,
old ain't for
right?
sissies. Write that down.
Ain't nobody told you. I'm telling you now, at 80, it ain't for sissies. You've got to prepare, and you got to start early because if you're blessed, you'll get old,
Mhm.
right? So it's not for sissies. And you said all the right things. You got to exercise. You got to be physical.
Mhm.
You got to start. I mean, you start at the youngest age. Now it's less of a problem as we're younger because we're very active, full of energy. We're out in the streets or playing ball or whatever sports we're playing, so we are organically getting the exercise that we need. um and so you got to know yourself. You got to know how much exercise, the right kind of exercise, and all there are all kinds of nutritionists and physical fitness experts that look like us who can look at your body, look at your weight, and recommend certain things that you do. So first, you got to exercise. So I have been exercising regularly, uh, 4 to 5 times a week, whether if I'm in my office, for example, I'm in my office right now.
Mhm.
Typically, when I'm on the phone talking with someone, and I spend a lot of time on the phone, I pick up my cell phone, right? I get out of this chair, I
Mhm.
put it to my ear, and I have a pretty large office, and I walk up and down. While talking to you, I'm walking up and down the entire length of my office, which is about 150 feet. So I end up by the end of the day with about 6,000 steps
Wow.
just walking up and down my office, right? Exercise by any means necessary. If you were to come to my office, you will see that there's a brown chair sitting at the end of my office with a one-page instruction list of chair exercises. Now, they
Mhm.
recommend chair exercises as you get older, right? So
Mhm.
you sit in the chair, you exercise your legs, you fold your arms, you exercise standing up out of the chair 10 or 15 times. And what you're doing is you're moving your muscles to strengthen the lower body of your whole body. Why? Because you're going to be very dependent on the lower body uh, to carry you around and to be strong as you get older, because those muscles, you lose 1% of muscle mass every year, right? So you've got to do something to strengthen that muscle mass, and especially at the lower part of your body, your legs. So you've got to exercise, and you've got to take supplements, brothers. And now, if you are a vegan or vegetarian or whatever it may be, that's wonderful. That's a gold star. That's a gold star because the food that we're taking in, it is heavily saturated with sugar. A lot of it is processed and stored. It's not as healthy as it fills you up, but in terms of the nutrients, you're missing a lot of nutrients in frozen foods and all those other kinds of things. So, bottom line, you've got to take supplements. Nearly 40 years ago, my good friend Tony Brown from Tony Brown's Journal, the award-winning journalist, um, very close friend of mine. I saw him he used to carry a little plastic case and he would be taking 10 or 12 supplements. So I asked him one day, just 40 years ago, what's that about? And he told me. I said, wow. And I said, you've been taking those every day? He said, yeah. Take them every day, 7 days a week. I said, can you give me a list of what they were? And he told me what they were. You, I went out to the local drugstore, started with, I think it was 12 supplements. And I've been taking those 12 supplements and I've added four more to it, ginkgo biloba and asawanga, I think that's how you pronounce it, and a couple of others. And I've been taking those now 14 supplements every single day, 7 days a week for 40 years.
Wow.
And so I take part of them at home. Oh, I have a little pack that I put the rest of them in. I take the second half of the day, I keep them in my pocket, but it's in another place right now in another jacket. And I put them on my office desk. And at around 5 o'clock, I take the balance of my supplements every
Mm,
single day for 40 plus years. Now, you want to know why I look the way I look, why I feel the way I feel, or why I have the energy that I have, why I can really get around well, right? At 80 years old, is because I was disciplined and created a habit of taking those supplements 7 days a week for 40 plus years. So, what was I doing? I was doing exactly what I'm advising all of you to do: prepare for old age. Prepare, and you'll live a more comfortable, more vigorous, more energized older years.
mm. Awesome.
Yeah,
Man, I
very,
mean,
very, very.
uh, you
Yeah,
you you're 80 years old, but the part that, and you look great, you can move around and you're mobile. But
yeah.
one thing you forgot to mention is that you're on and off these airplanes and in these airports like you're about 25 years old, man.
That's right. That's right. But you know why I love it? Because
Uh-huh.
I never let anyone carry my bags. I only carry two bags typically wherever I go. I carry my own bags, and I don't take those moving walkways in the airports. I walk, and I
Mhm.
look forward to that. That gives me steps because my goal is to try to get between 8 and 10,000 steps a day. Okay.
Mhm.
So I use whatever I have to do. I don't take the elevator. I walk up and down the steps to my office and so forth. So any excuse I have to move
Yeah.
helps me to fulfill my daily goals. So that's the physical part of it. And then there's the mental part of health. And that is to get your head right, to understand who you really are, right? And we are incredible people, man.
Mhm.
Incredible people. Um, we are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in caves in the Caucasus Mountains practicing cannibalism. We were building pyramids. We're awesome people, and we have the DNA signature of that in us. We are not only mentally and physically superior, we're God's first people. God's first, that's not mythology, that is anthropological and biological fact. So you have to understand who you are. You have to understand um, your competition. Your competition are white folks for the most part, and you have to understand how they think. And how it's different than the way we think. I said it earlier. There's a Eurocentric worldview, and then there's an African-centered worldview, and we are very different people. In fact, in the book Success Runs in Our Race, I explain the differences between an Afrocentric worldview and a Eurocentric view. In fact, I'm going to read it right from the book right now. It will only take 2 minutes. What is a Eurocentric worldview? Order is imposed by the stronger force. The stronger force gains advantage by ordering the universe as it wishes. This is how white folks think. What is a Euro or an Afrocentric worldview? The universe is active and alive, and the laws of nature reveal its inherent order as well as the Creator's divine laws. Our worldview is completely different. What is Eurocentric thinking? Now, that was the worldview. Here's their thinking. Survival of the fittest promotes a drive for mastery and control of nature and the accumulation of possessions. That's how white folk think. What's African-centered thinking? There is a oneness of all things. Life is primary and must reflect a divine nature. Group maintenance, collectiveness, and sharing are essential. That's how we think. And then finally, what is the Eurocentric ethos? This is basically what the principles and laws that manage our life. Control and Eurocentric ethos is control and mastery of life. African-centric ethos is life is primary and is the oneness of all things, and all things are one with and in harmony with nature. And we can go on and on and on. There's a Eurocentric reality, an African-centered reality. There's a Eurocentric value system. And so let's take Eurocentric value. Eurocentric value. There is a conflict of opposing forces representing a continual struggle whereby one must prevail over the other. That's the whole number one concept. African-centered value. There is a rhythmic and harmonious interchange of connections. It's called synthesis. And antagonisms, which are called contradictions. And that's why we go through a rites of passage program. I went through an African-centered rites of passage program at 41 years old. If you have a rites of passage program in a church or center in Atlanta, I recommend that every brother and sister go through a rites of passage program. Do Jewish people have a rites of passage program? Yes, they do. What do they call it? Bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. Get your mind right. Understand who you are. You're all that in a bag of chips. Don't waste it on bullshit. Spend your time properly doing the right things.
Mm. So you all that in a bag of chips. Don't waste it on BS.
Don't waste it on being right. This is
Mic drop.
gold. This is your gold. No question about that.
Man, and that's self-value. I mean, you really have to really value yourself, and these have been some great currency tips. We're approaching number 7. We've gone through 6 of the life currencies, and we're approaching number 7, man. And this has been some great information, which will be replayed here on rollingout.com. We have the article. We'll also have the video. So tell your friends, tell your family members, look, go to Rolling Out and watch Dr. George C. Fraser and those 7 life currencies. I'm telling you, man, they are truly, truly amazing. And that brings us to number 7. This is number 7 currency of the 7, which is money and wealth. And money and wealth, we look at tangible money, but let's look at the ethical money as well.
Mm-hmm.
Things is that's money too, just like your relationships, like you talked about earlier, your reputation, that's a form of money as well. So expound on those things, if you will, Dr. Fraser.
Money, to make it as simple as possible, making money is first action. So you got to get an honest, loving, caring hustle on, right? What is your love hustle, your skills? What is it that you love to do, right? What gives you the greatest fulfillment, joy, and satisfaction? Okay. So money is part of that. Money, making money or keeping money is really behavior, right? As you've heard me say a million times, I'd rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. right? It's how you spend and invest your money. That's how you keep your money. All right. And then growing money is knowledge.
Mm,
Financial literacy, financial education, financial modeling by your parents and others is critically important.
mm,
This is very important. This is how you grow your money. You must invest it, right? Your money has to work as hard for you as you did for it. In fact, if your money ain't working harder for you than you did for it, then your money is pimping you,
mm,
right? Instead of you pimping your money. So making money is action, keeping money is behavior, and growing money is knowledge.
mm,
Knowledge. Now, what's a tip on properly keeping and managing your money? A life partner,
mm,
the right life partner. Let me say that a different way. There is no culture in the history of humankind that has maximized its full human potential without family at the center of that culture. This phenomenon right now does not exist in the context of Black folk. Right now, I'm writing a new book called The Existential Crisis of the Black Family, A Path to Restoration. It is not where it needs to be. Let me say that a different way. Without couples, you have no families. Without families, you have no community. Without community, you have no tradition. Without tradition, you have no culture. Family is critical. But right now, from almost an 80% high of marriage in our culture in the 1950s, marriage in our culture is now down to 23%.
mm,
23%. 71% of our women are not married, and 29% of them will never get married. 66% of our men are not married, and 34% of our men will never get married. 78% uh, of our children are raised in a single parent household. Close to 80% of our children are raised in a single parent household, principally by a Black woman. And 72% of our children are born out of wedlock. This is a very, very, very concerning statistic. And it has a profound impact on our ability to build intergenerational wealth. Why is that, Dr. Fraser? There are all kinds of studies on this. There are five major cultural groups in America. Five. When you look at their median household annual income and compare it to their marriage rate, you'll see a profound difference. Now, for 350 years, white people had the highest median household annual income in America for 350 years. Now, because marriage is also impacting them, but you know that when white folks catch a cold, Black people catch pneumonia. It's bad for them, but it's worse for us.
mm,
So let's look, and I'll close with this. Let's look at the five major cultural groups, and white people are now number three. They have gone from number one for 350 years to number three. Let's look at the five major cultural groups. Number one today are East Indians. The median household annual income is $124,000 a year. What is the marriage rate in the East Indian culture? 94%.
mm,
Number two are Chinese Asians, $109,000 median household annual income. What's the marriage rate? Nearly 70%. Number three are white people, $81,000 a year. Marriage rate from 90% in the 50s to 57% today. Number four are Hispanics at $63,000 a year, marriage rate nearly 70%. And Black people are last at $53,000 a year, marriage rate 23%. What am I saying to you, brothers and sisters? And I'll close with this point. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them.
Hmm? Mic drop.
Right.
Wow, that was powerful, man. If you can't build with them, don't chill with them. You hear that, Lex? Man, they going crazy in the comment section. Tyria said, man, God is so good. Praise him and tell your story. So you got me in tears over here. Lex Kelly said, this is incredible. Man, this was definitely a great interview, man. Great production, great information, jewels, that gems that you shared. And again, like I said, we're going to archive this information on rollingout.com. We're also going to turn this into an article, produce an article with this information. This has been some, the blueprint, if you will.
Right.
And the thing that really rings and resonates with me is marriage. We've been taught that to run out here and to try to obtain wealth as an individual. But marriage or wealth, attaining wealth is a team sport, and marriage is at the core of it,
That's right.
from what I'm hearing you say. So those stats that you gave with the Eastern Indians, the Chinese,
Right.
white, Hispanics,
Right.
Black people,
That's right. Mhm. It's
those.
extremely, extremely important. In
Mm,
fact, it's one of the most stressful things
mm,
that we engage in because now you got two people coming together, raised in different households, maybe different communities, different states, maybe even a different country, and you put them together till death do us part. That's that's what the vow says. Now, in the book that I'm writing, The Existential Crisis of the Black Family, I'm going to recommend that we change the vows
okay.
because to say to someone till death do us part, oh, that's a hell of a commitment.
Mm,
So we'll soften that, but give it a different goal. Instead of till death do us part, my recommendation will be for as long as we shall love.
mm, I
So
like
that gives
that.
you a new goal, staying in love. Death is not the goal. Love is the goal.
Mm,
So that'll be in the book. It'll be out the end of the year. And I'm real excited about it. Um, but what I say all that, I wanted to tell you that because it's one of the biggest causes of stress, because stress doesn't really come from hard work. Stress primarily comes from not taking action over something you have some control over. You have control over that. Stress comes from ignoring the things that you shouldn't be ignoring. So if you're joined up with the right person, you don't ignore that. You take care of that, right?
mm,
So as I said earlier, the magic that you're looking for is in the work that you are avoiding. Do the work. Find the right partner because you too can do this. You can change your mind. That's what you can do because only a fool can't change his mind.
wow. Yeah, I received that. That's powerful. So share with us, if you will, Power Networking Conference EX.com is the
Here it
website,
is.
right?
Here's the flyer. So what it look, you notice that we'll be talking about one of the things we'll talk about is what? The family,
Mhm.
right? So we have families on the cover this year.
Yes.
And it's in Atlanta, as you stated, November the 5th through the 8th. If you live in Atlanta, you have no excuse It's going to be right in your own backyard. It's going to be at the Omni Hotel. And so what I'd like to do is to make a very special Rick Mathis offer. The offer is good for those who are watching this. And let's say we'll give it 48 hours. Okay. But take advantage of it because I'm going to limit this crazy offer. This is a crazy offer, and only I can do it as founder of the Power Networking conference, now called the Power Networking Experience. Take advantage of this. I'm going to limit it to the first 10 people. Now, you're going to do it by email. It's very simple. To get this offer, you'll see that a registration at our conference on the back of the registration is $2,967, $3,000 to come to our conference. We're 53% sold out and we're 7 months away. I'm going to reduce that from nearly $3,000 to $599.
Wow. Mm.
So that's about a 70% discount. But you can't go on the site and get this. You have to get it through me. And the way you do it is simple. You have to email me, gfraser at frasernet.com. Gfraser, I don't know if it's in the
I'll put it in the chat.
comment section.
Mhm.
G Fraser, spelled just like you see it on the screen, Fraser, at frasernet.com. You email me at that email address. Then in the subject line of the email, put I'm in Rick. I'm in Rick. That's all you put in the subject line. In the body of the email, you put your full name and your cell number. Your full name and your cell number. I will personally call you. That's worth the price of admission. And we'll handle our business over the phone by credit card. Now, all emails are time stamped. So I'll know exactly who took advantage of the offer and when. And that way I can limit this crazy offer because we're going to have to subsidize this price that I'm giving you. We'll get sponsors to subsidize you. So that is the offer. Take advantage of that offer. Be there. We will cover building and managing wealth. We will cover starting, building, and scaling businesses. We will cover also the power of the human connection and effective networking. And we will cover family. It's over a 4-day period of time, 5 to 8. We end with a big party on Saturday night, African attire required. And you'll love it. It's like no experience you've ever had. I promise you that. It will change you. It's African centered and it's fun and you'll meet powerful people. It's a place where you will come to connect, to grow, and prosper.
Awesome. Awesome. I want to thank you again, Dr. Fraser, for your time, your wealth of knowledge, and the information that you share with our Rolling Out audience. I mean, this has been amazing. We definitely will have to have you come back on again and share more information prior to the conference. I want to thank you. Any
Thank
closing
you.
remarks that you have?
Appreciate you, everybody. Thank you for being on. And may God continue to bless you and make sure that you do God's work for you.